Oh, shit. Hold on, Nick. I got it.
Yeah, you're good.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the wall, Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Reds win! Line to right field. Genius, the first run ever with 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
All right, Nick. Phillies win in the ninth inning, 3-2. I know that we are going to get into a lot of things today. We'll do a box score recap. Obviously, Lodolo on the J-bar. Steer, another home run on the J-bar. Diaz situation, him coming in the eighth. We'll talk about that in the ninth, and then we'll have some Reds MILB to end the show. But just to start it off, obviously we were hoping this Easter weekend would go a little bit better for the Cincinnati Reds. So far, not that case. I don't know what else to say it. But Nick, hopefully you're doing well. I don't know how bad this one hurt for you, but I guess you'll share how crushing of a defeat it was, and then secondarily to that, you run us through the quick box score recap, which I'm sure won't take as long as it normally would.
Well, it was looking good for a while today, Trace. Felt like a really great day at the ballpark. Got to see a Dragons win earlier in the day, so I'll talk about that here a little bit later. But, yeah, I mean, it started off well. Spencer Steer hit a solo home run. Nick Lodolo was electric. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, 12 strikeouts, 7 shutout innings, just 3 hits allowed, only walked 2. I mean, he was as good as you could have dreamed today. And the Reds got an insurance run in the top of the ninth. You're really feeling really good. David Bell had used Alexis Diaz in the eighth because the Phillies are the top of the order up. Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, and JT Realmuto. Alexis Diaz came in, didn't have the rust after, I think, 6 days off. 1, 2, 3, struck out the side, looked dominant. I didn't throw a ton of pitches, brought him back out in the ninth, and Alexis Diaz just flat out didn't have it in the ninth. I don't know, you call it rattled, you call it whatever you want. Just didn't have it, and after the Phillies got back-to-back singles to start things off, it was pretty much over. There was nothing. David Bell tried to bring in Ian Jabot to save it, but yeah, that was it. Phillies win 3-2, and Reds are looking to avoid the sweep tomorrow with Connor Overton on the mound. So that's where we're at, Trace.
Yeah, we'll get into that as well in a little bit. Connor Overton on the mound outside of what I expected of Ashcraft, and then obviously we had discussed a little bit before the show. I guess before we get into the day's game, I don't know. We'll obviously get into tomorrow's starters here at the very, very end with Overton going. But really quickly, for those that are curious as to why you feel like, or maybe it's been said as to why Graham Ashcraft is not throwing tomorrow.
Yeah, so I think with all the rainouts, I was listening to David Bell's comments pregame on the Reds radio broadcast, and Bell was talking about how it matched up better for Ashcraft's side sessions and pitching on his off days. So that was part of the reason. And then I also think he kind of like hinted at it maybe being part of the reason that they wanted to break up the Green Ashcraft Lodolo. You're facing a Phillies lineup on Monday that is just really, really good. And so I think they might have been looking at that going, yeah, you know what, do we really want to throw Overton and Sessa back-to-back against the Braves? Maybe we can, sneak a win with Overton against a Phillies team that is banged up. You were hoping, obviously, to get this one here on Saturday. And I think if you got this one on Saturday, I think we're looking at that going, hey, that's probably a fine move. But now you're up against the sweep, so it could snowball and kind of go the opposite direction. But I do see kind of what they were thinking on that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not sure. Every game is relatively, it counts the same. I get the idea of not wanting to lose a certain many in a row versus wanting to split up guys to hopefully where you can maybe break up some of that momentum. But the opposite could be said for that too, to where, instead of winning 3 games in a row, you only win 2 because of who you throw on that third day. Let's get into it a little bit here. So the optimistic side obviously is always going to shine through a little bit here. Lodolo looked great. He's a part of the future. For those that don't know, Nick Lodolo is a part of the future. I know that the bullpen is frustrating right now. We'll get into that a little bit in a moment. But overall, he shoved. He looked great. He was what many would consider ace material today. And I think, if anything, it just proves that he can pitch. I mean, Lodolo has for many fans feel like he's the best arm we have, and I hinted the other day that I think Graham Ashcraft could be the best arm we have if he continues to throw the ball as well as he has. And I still am not out on Hunter Green, so that doesn't mean that Hunter Green, I don't want to make it sound as if that he has overpowering stuff, and if Hunter Green ever figures out how to pitch in even the same remote ballpark as Lodolo and Ashcraft, then he could be special too. And you would like to think that maybe a little bit of those two would rub off of on Green over time. However, it was a spoiled outing. It feels gross, a little rotten per se, no pun intended, with Easter tomorrow. But my main thought is just, you have to take away from this game that one of our bright guys that we need to continue to develop proved himself. And then on the flip side, listen, Spencer Steer is starting to show every single day that he might be a dude. And, he had a home run today, and he's continued to play well. And I just think that for us as a fan base, it's going to be so painful this year at times because we do not have a bullpen that we can rely on. And Diaz, even the best closers in the game are going to blow a certain amount of saves a year. And I wouldn't even say that this game even equates to him. He blew the save. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for him. But he also came in and he did his job in the 8th let's get into that for a minute. The idea of bringing in a guy early, we talked about that a little bit. I don't know if it was on the last show or the show right before that, but, at the end of the day, the Phillies had their best guys coming up in the 8th. We wanted to throw our best guy in the 8th to combat that. We did that, Nick. It worked out beautifully. Oh, by the way, at the time, I know there's people that are out there just absolutely wanting to crucify David Bell. And my main question back to you would be, how was he supposed to know, one, that they were going to get an insurance run in the top of the 9th? Because at the time, it was a one-run game in the bottom of the 8th. And on top of that, it worked out about as well as it could have worked out in the 8th. You go to the 9th, and guess what? The Phillies still have to score on whoever you put out there anyways. So if you don't put Diaz in the 8th and you give up 3 runs and you lose 3-2 in the top of the 9th, are you complaining? Are you saying, why in the world wouldn't you bring in your best arm that you have in your bullpen to throw against the 3 best hitters the Phillies have? Or are you going to sit back and say, no, he should have brought in Jabot in the 8th? Should have brought in Alex Young in the 8th. Should have brought in whoever else in the 8th. I'm not even going to try to defend David Bell all year, because there's one thing I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to get into it in just a second. I'm going to give you a chance to respond to this, Nick, before I go a little bit on the opposite side of this from a pessimistic perspective. But I will defend David Bell. I think he did about as well as he could have in the whole situation. That is, do you bring Diaz in now or do you save him for the 9th? He flew right through the 8th inning, Nick. And I know I seen your tweet. You've gotten killed for it. And I'm not even trying to be a stan, not trying to be a defendant for you and or David Bell. But I just don't know what the alternative, what you want him to do. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think if you were talking to David Bell and he was being honest with you, I'm not sure the plan was to maybe pitch Alexis Diaz 2 innings. The problem, not really a problem, is he just cruised right through the 8th so easily, and he only threw 14 pitches, struck out the side that, hey, maybe we could sneak a couple more outs out with him. And then it just snowballed in the 9th. It kind of is what it is. It almost would have been better for the Reds if Diaz had to work a little bit, and it would have, they could have just started. I would rather they start the 9th with Jabot.
Maybe the game ended with 1 out, Nick. I think, right? Am my memory serving me right? It's not. It's not like the guy. It's not like the guys that came in. It's not like Jabot came in and was blowing guys away. I mean, to defend the fact Diaz might have still been the best option the whole entire 9th inning. I mean, it's like you remember when oh my gosh, why am I drawing the blank right now? This is embarrassing. The best left-handed closer that we've ever had. He's still throwing flame balls. Why am I drawing a blank right now? This is ridiculous.
Chapman.
Chapman. Aroldis Chapman. Do you not remember when Aroldis Chapman would come in to save opportunity and he would walk the bases loaded and then he would just strike out the side? There's not a winning formula for David Bell. The only thing that I want to bring up right now before I forget is this. We've got to do something about the guy on third base, okay? Nick Castellanos cannot walk halfway down the line when it's clearly bothering Alexis Diaz. It's clearly bothering whoever's pitching. You could say maybe if there's a left-handed arm throwing that maybe perhaps we aren't worried about it, but executing pitches, in my opinion, is more important than having the third baseman standing 10 more feet to the right or the left, if you want, however you're looking at it, 10 feet closer to second base, than executing pitches. Because clearly it was bothering Diaz. He stepped off the mound one time just because it was just clearly such an oddity that Castellanos is off the bag 40 feet, man. So if you can't try to keep him somewhat honest, then I think it's a huge detriment. I don't care what the analytics say. You can't put analytics in the brain of your closer and or any of your bullpen arms when the guy's literally dancing around halfway between the bag. I don't care what anybody says. I will take that to my grave. Your overall thoughts on I guess that situation, then also compounding with the Diaz thing.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on there, and I'm a guy that completely supports the shifts. But I mean, look, Alexis Diaz is a guy who strikes out over 12 batters per 9 innings. Like him being focused on the batter is the most important thing. So yeah, I mean, that may be a time where you just say, hey, look, we know that Steer covering third base is not our best option in terms of where the ball's going to be put in play, but we're maybe costing Alexis Diaz a chance to strike out this hitter and win this ball game. So yeah, I'm with you. It's also kind of a new play. I also was kind of thinking, why don't the Reds run a play where they pitch out? I think it was Marsh at the plate there. Pitch out, have Steer sneak behind and try to throw back to third and pick them off. That would solve the problem right there. And then boom, you are all of a sudden you shut the Phillies down right there. You got to make them pay. Like credit to Castellanos for doing that. That's a smart heads up baseball play. Who knows how much he got in his head, but it sure looked from my vantage point that he did. But you got to make him pay for doing that. You can't let the guy just go halfway down the line. And he honestly embarrassed you. He embarrassed you doing that. You got to make him pay. You got to find out a way. And hopefully that's one of those things where David Bell's in the back of his head going, all right, next time you try to do that, we got to play. We'll have Steer sneak behind him right when the pitch is thrown. We'll have I think Luke Malley was in the game behind the plate at that point. We'll have Luke Malley throw back, and we'll pick off that runner, and they'll never do that again to us, So yeah, I like that you mentioned that because I was definitely thinking about that during the game.
Yeah, and Alex brings up a point. He said Diaz was screwed before Castellanos got to third. Here's my thing about that though, Alex. Like, as much as I want to tend to agree with you in regards to the fact that, yes, it did look like he was struggling. It did look like he was a little bit of had some control issues. But at the end of the day, sometimes these relievers can look really, really bad. And then the next thing you know, they got two guys out in a row because they just have elite stuff, and it just clicks. And my main point is I just don't – we're still in a position at that point, right, to where you still have the lead. You still have the lead to where I'm not throwing, all this game's over. It's like a situation where you were doomed no matter what at that very moment. It did feel like when there was – it did feel like, quite frankly, when the sacrifice fly came in, the game got tied, that it was like there was no way from here. So to be very clear about the whole thing, I just think that no matter the situation anymore, we can't have a guy 45 feet off the base or 40 feet off the base and there not be a recourse of action and or somewhat of a punishment for doing that. Like Nick said, you could do a pitch out, right? Or, in my opinion, all it takes is for Spencer Steer to bluff like he's going to third base for 2 or 3 or 4 hard steps. You got Castellanos at that point sprinting back to the bag and then pitch the ball. There's ways to combat this that are just 100% something that they need to find a way to do. All right. That's enough about the guy on third base because I don't know if at the end of the day it was a huge thing. One last thing I want to bring up is, listen, as much as I'd like to think that the Reds blew it, I also think that it's somewhat fair to say that the Phillies won it. Like, it's not like Diaz just completely walked the bases loaded and he just, then another guy came in and they just walked in runs. The Phillies got hits, they got 2 big hits, and you got to give them credit a little bit here. So, at the end of the day, it is disappointing. But as I said before, Nick, if we're going to go through this season, I'm going to say this probably on anywhere from 90 to 100 podcasts this year. If you're going to sit at home this year and solely make your happiness based around whether or not the Reds win and or lose, you're going to be unhappy a lot of the summer. But I'm telling you that Nick Lodolo went out there and shoved today. Spencer Steer looks like he might be an everyday player moving forward. Friedel's looking like a guy that you can start to get a little excited about. I don't know. I'm not saying that we should not care at all about wins and losses. It hurt a little bit to lose, but let's also not sit here and be naive. Anything else to add, Nick?
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about Lodolo, but Yeah, I like the way you said that. I mean, for the Reds' future, if Jason Vossler goes out and hits 3 home runs and Nick Lodolo kind of guts through 5 innings, like that's not like good for the Reds' future. That doesn't, it would have felt better today. We'd have a better taste in our mouth right now. But Nick Lodolo, man, this guy looks as I can't believe how far he's come so quickly. I mean, he's only made a handful of big league starts, and he's looking like an all-star pitcher. I don't think that's hyperbole to say. I think right now, if you're picking an all-star team, he'd be in it.
Well, yeah, two good starts.
I mean, like that's the level that he's at, and some notes on him that I wrote down, and this one was from everyone posted this. But Lodolo, the first left-handed pitcher with 12 strikeouts and 0 runs allowed since 1972. That seems like a pretty good number. Lodolo, 15 swing and misses today. 21 strikeouts now in his first 12 innings. 21 strikeouts in 12 innings. That's just video game numbers. And then today, really good pitch mix. Good pitch mix. 51% fastball, 34% curveball. Just can't say enough about Lodolo. And then real quick on Steer and Friedel, what we've talked about all spring training long. We want dudes that start filling out the positions, as this is a guy that is a bona fide starter. And through the first week of the season, I think we're feeling like Steer and Friedel are really trending that way. We already felt pretty good, at least I did, about guys like Jake Fraley. But I mean, those two guys, you can't say enough about what they're doing. And I mean, that is the most important thing. And if you're going to try to stick with us and watch 162 games, those are the biggest answers we need this year. We need those questions answered. And so far we're getting a few of those, and that's the biggest positive, and I think the biggest driving force to keep me really engaged and interested all year.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's even being unrealistic. I don't think that that's being a pushover. I don't think that that's being somebody that's making, excuses as to why, this Reds team isn't living up to what the standard is. At the end of the day, it's as simple as this. We need some of these guys to prove that they're big league worthy going into next year, and we need the big 3 guys that have been at the front of this rotation that people talk about all the time. We need them to continue to prove that they're going to be someone we can rely on moving forward, and hopefully we can find some more pieces that come up through the system. One quick question, not to put you on the spot, Nick, is, for as much as we've talked about the lack of depth for the pitching side of things, a couple guys that maybe were going to slip through the cracks, or some maybe sleepers that you think that maybe will make a push towards getting a start towards the very end of this year, and or maybe making a push for the big league club, maybe not out of camp, but somewhere along the lines for next year. Obviously Abbott, I don't know how developed is he. Is that just a situation where he had one good outing? Other guys I'm missing? Where are we at on that?
Yeah, Connor Phillips actually pitched today for Chattanooga. We'll get into that game in a minute because that game was wild. Their first game of the doubleheader. But Phillips today, 4 innings pitched, 1 hit, 0 runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. So Phillips and Abbott have had just incredible starts for Chattanooga. Those are the 2 guys right now that I'm the highest on in terms of their future and the possibility of them getting starts this year. I want both of those guys by September 15th to have made one big league start for the Reds. That would be a huge win and a huge success, I think, going into next year, because those two, I mean, you could have a legit 1 through 5 rotation if, and it's a huge if, I'm not trying to sugarcoat it, it's a huge if, but if those 2 guys become big league pitchers, you all of a sudden have 1 through 5 that you feel really good about the upside for each and every single one of them.
Okay. Staying in this subject and in this topic, some Reds MILB updates. I know that you've seen the Dragons play. Go ahead and fill us in on anything that people might have missed.
Yes, saw the Dragons. We'll start with them. Finally got to see a win. I think they had lost like 6 straight games that I have been to. I live in Lake County, which is the name of the team that they play. That's the Guardians high affiliate. They're really good. They've had a really, really good team, and the Guardians have a great farm system. So But yeah, I finally got to see a win. Unfortunately, as I'm walking through the door, Jay Allen gets hurt. I think sliding into first base. Not sure what he was doing. I didn't even see it, but he got hurt. He left the game. He walked off. I did get to see him walk off. He looked fine. And then a little later, Edwin Arroyo, he left the game hurt. Like in, I think the second or third inning. So I was like, oh man, what a day. But Dragons did win. They won.
Is there anything positive outside of them winning?
Yeah, definitely. They won 7-2. The pitching was really, really good today. Two guys that are which I would consider probably fringe top 30 prospects for the Reds. Actually, Doug Gray has the first guy. And like with Jabot, I always get so nervous about butchering these guys' names, so I apologize if I am. Julian Aguiar, he's a guy that Doug Gray actually has ranked as his 20th best prospect, but I don't think anyone else did. He was awesome today. 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 0 runs, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. He reminded me, his demeanor reminded me a little bit of like Graham Ashcraft, where he was super aggressive. He had like that, like just he had a fun presence on the mound. Like
he's a competitor.
He was very confident. Like you could just see it, and it was easy to see because it was like literally 35 people at this game today.
I seen that. Yeah, it looked like you guys were doing well and getting some foul balls as well.
Yeah. We got two foul balls, one for each kid, so that was good. But then Trace, the second guy, Jose Acuna, is also one of those fringe top 30 prospect. He's the guy the Reds got back for Tyler Naquin last year, and they basically did a piggyback start today. So those were the only 2 pitchers that pitched. He threw 4 innings, 1 hit, 0 runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. So nice. Really encouraging to see. We've talked a lot about how the Reds farm system has all these great position players. Do they have enough pitching? Well, these 2 guys, at least today, on this day, against a pretty good team and a pretty good lineup, pitched really well.
Yeah, I think something in regards to the arms. I know I had mentioned it earlier. We were a little concerned about the depth. I think that's something that this franchise is going to go out in free agency and try to find a fix for. If you're asking the question of where they're going to go out and spend money when all of these contracts per se are off the books, Joey Votto's contract is off the books. They're going to have money to spend, and they're going to spend the money. If there is an opportunity for this team that can solidify some of these position players that we're asking for, hopefully to be big league players and be not only big league players, but be good enough to compete for a playoff spot, then I have every bit of confidence in saying that this ownership group and this front office is going to go out and they're going to spend the money on getting that 4th starter or 5th starter that we desperately need at the big league level. So, I'm not even all that concerned about that. I just, again, continue to hope that the Matt McClains, the Ellie De La Cruzes of the world stay healthy. Christian Encarnacion Strand is also another guy. Hopefully his back holds up. And at the end of the day, man, that's what this all comes down to. I know that those guys in low A, hopefully they continue to pitch well and they can come up through the farm system and help. But, for all intents and purposes, they're not going to be guys that, maybe, I don't want to say never's never, not a person to say never, but those are going to be guys that probably we're going to be relying on in the next few years to try to get us to a pennant or hell of a playoff spot before I talk about pennants. Any other thoughts, comments, concerns about Reds minor leagues?
Yeah, I got a couple more things to run through here real quick. Louisville lost 5-4 to Indianapolis. Nick Senzel had 3 hits, doubled, hit the ball really hard. I think one of them was a 109 exit velocity. Votto 1 for 4, did double, did strike out 3 times. Alex McGarry hit a home run. Nick Senzel 0 for 4. And Chase Anderson got the start, 5 innings, 2 runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. And then Joe Kunal made, I believe, his AAA debut this season, pitched a perfect inning in a third. So that was good to see. And then Chattanooga, they're playing, I believe, right now the second game of a doubleheader. But the first game, Trace, they won 7-5.
That's right.
And they did not get a hit. Rocket City in the 7th inning, which in a doubleheader in the minor leagues, the 7th inning is the 9th inning, kind of like when we were doing the COVID doubleheaders. Rocket City walked 5 batters. They hit 4 additional batters. They committed an error, and they had 1 wild pitch in the 7-run inning. That's how they. Yeah, you'll
That's
never see something
ridiculous.
like that again. That's insane. And then Trace. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I think I've seen someone say they need to send the baseball or they need to send whatever piece of memorabilia up to Cooperstown because that is quite wild and probably something, as you said, will never be done again. But go ahead, finish your overall thoughts on.
Yeah, shout out to my guy Sam, guy we followed each other on Twitter for a long time. He was at the game. He was at that game today. What a game to go to. That's one of those games you would definitely never forget. And then the last team on the minor league slate, Daytona won 7-3. Or no, they won 10-3. I think they added on a couple. But Sal Stewart, 1 for 4. Victor Acosta, 1 for 3. And then Cam Collier did not play. So that is your minor league recap. Hey, let us know if you like talking, kind of running through the minor leagues each day. Let us know if you don't like that. We're trying to kind of figure out what's best for the show, on a daily basis. Personally, I kind of like being updated on the minor leagues. I kind of even like doing this because it forces me to stay really invested in the minor leagues. Something I want to do, but, don't always put the time and effort into. So, yeah, let us know if you like it or if you don't like it. We're good either way.
As final thoughts, parting away, I know we have tomorrow starters to get into. I'll let you do that in just a moment. But again, I just would say to the folks that are really concerned, I'm not saying I'm a David Bell guy. Okay, I'm not sure if he's the answer or not the answer. It's really hard to judge somebody when they're cooking a meal, right, and their ingredients absolutely suck. It's really hard. And he might be the worst chef. He might be the worst chef east of the Mississippi River. Okay? He could also be the best chef east of the Mississippi River. And I just don't know. Because he doesn't have enough guys, in my opinion, that theoretically can make plays. I do think that there are questionable decisions that he's made, and we should hold him accountable. But today, not to get all crazy about it, but today he brought in his best arm to face the 3 best hitters the Phillies have. And he mowed them down. He mowed them down so fast that David Bell then thought to himself, that was so damn easy that I just have to send him out there again. And I will tell you, if he didn't send Alexis Diaz out there again, and Diaz mowed those guys down about as fast as you could mow down guys. He looked like a 60-inch wide 0-turn. And we blew the lead in the 9th inning, and Alexis Diaz didn't go out there. You would have David Bell's head literally on pitchforks as we speak. You have him on there no matter what, obviously, if you're upset at him. But I would just tell you that when you came out into the 9th, your best arm the whole time in the 9th inning, like it or not, in my opinion, was Diaz. I'm not saying that you don't take Diaz out. I get why you did take him out. But I also would say the best chance to get out of that whole entire mess was to strike 3 guys out or strike 2 guys out and get a pop-up or whatever it may be. And to finish it off, Nick, you asked the question before as far as David Bell getting on him or not getting on him. You said, I might have brought in Alex Young because Marsh was coming up to the plate and you want that left-on-left matchup. Then I think you had a righty come up behind him and then you had a lefty again. So at the end of the day, maybe you would say the left-handed arm's the best guy to come in, and I'm not going to argue with you on that. The only thing that I would counteract that with is saying, as far as a swing and miss rate, I don't know that's off the top of my head, but Alex Young might not be as big of a swing and miss rate as a Jabot. And in that situation, similar to like college football, you aren't looking for a tie right there if you're David Bell. You're not trying to say, you know what, I want to go to extra innings against the Phillies because you know what, if this game goes longer, we're just going to out-bullpen those guys. Like, we got better bullpen guys than they have. The truth is we don't. So we're going to go for 2. We're the worst football team at the end of the game when we're trying to go for 2 and just win it and get over with. So you bring in Jabot. You're hoping to God you can get a strikeout, you can get a ground ball double play, and you get out of it. You don't. The Phillies made plays. The Phillies are a better team. I'm not trying to be too pessimistic with all of this. I'm just telling you what I feel like is the truth. This isn't David Bell's fault. You know what it is? It's a guy that's searching around the kitchen looking for ingredients, and he just doesn't have them all. And I'm not a David Bell stan. The guy sucks in interviews. He's too soft-spoken for me. I'll leave it at that.
Well, yeah. One other point on Diaz is he hasn't pitched since Sunday, and if you don't use him in the eighth, you're only up 1 run. If they give up 2 runs, Alexis Diaz never even pitches today. And he goes a whole nother day without even pitching. And the fact that they went 1-2-3, that made the Phillies bring in Andrew Vasquez in the 9th, not one of their top guys. And the Reds were able to add an extra run. It just didn't work out today. I like that move 100 out of 100 times. And like I said, if Diaz maybe throws 20 pitches, then maybe Jabot starts the 9th, and maybe Jabot was able to have a clean inning. It just wasn't in the cards today. In baseball, there's so many times that the right move doesn't work, and there's also times that the wrong move works. I try my hardest to judge moves on what I thought before it happens, because results don't matter, because if you're results based in an individual moment, you're going to constantly just be
you can't play Monday morning quarterback, because you don't really, if you're not going to decide on what you should have done before someone comes in, then essentially all you're doing is just taking the end result, and you're letting it be dictating or being biased on what you said you should have done, like it or not. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. This team was projected to win 65 games. You can say whatever you want about it, but that is what it is. So this show is also to be a reminder, brought to you by Betfred Sportsbook. Shout out to Betfred Sportsbook. Go on there, and if you're a hater, then just fade the Reds every night. And if you're an optimist, then play the Reds, or don't play them at all. But to your point, Nick, sometimes the right play doesn't always win. Go down to the Hard Rock and do me a favor. Next time you go down to the Hard Rock, go ahead and hit on 19. You might get a 2. If you get a 2, maybe you'll be a genius. But at the end of the day, that's not the right play. You do that enough times, you're probably going to lose. So I'm all for the situation that was, and it is what it is. So, all right, Nick, I will let you sign us off here. But again, appreciate everyone for jumping in here. My biggest thing for you is enjoy your family tomorrow. Nick, I'm not sure what our plans are. I know we both have families. We got Easter and all that going on. We'll see. Maybe we do a show late at night. If not, worst case scenario, we'll do the podcast, and we will be back better than ever live with the Atlanta series. Did you see what they did with Atlanta, Nick? Did you see what those guys did on Atlanta? But we'll leave it at that. I really am appreciative, though, of the people that tune in, and things will get better. I promise.
All right, so tomorrow, Connor Overton against Taijuan Walker. Overton has 1 career start against Philly, came back in 2021. He got rocked, didn't make it through 3 innings, so hopefully Overton, guy's pitching for his big league life, so hopefully he can come out and pitch well and maybe build upon the way he was able to finish his first start. And then Walker, he allowed 4 runs in his first start of the year. This is a guy that signed a 4-year, $72 million deal with the Phillies before the season. 2021 All-Star, but he was actually better last year, posting a career high in wins above replacement and ERA. But if you're looking for a positive, career 5.29 ERA against the Reds. And Trace, I'll let you take it away from here.
All right, guys. Thank you, and continue to please do me one big favor. It's as simple as this. Go on your favorite podcast platform, download Chatterbox Reds, rate and review, and most importantly, go Reds.